Hi everyone. Hope you all are good. We are here for great math. You can find all the lessons on aplusstudents.com. You have to log in there using your email address and password as provided by the administrator. Then you have to select math from the subject tab, scroll down to grade 4 math, and then click on view all lessons. There you can find a list of the chapters. We're going to start with the chapter fractions, equivalence, and ordering. The lessons we're going to cover today are understanding fractions word problems, fractions review, find fractions equivalent, find equivalent fractions using area model, and so please make sure you have your notebook and pencil so that you can note down the important examples and definitions as well. And I'm on grade 4 math. Let's just start with the chapter fractions. Let's just start with the first lesson, understanding fractions word problems. There were 7 apples on a tree in the yard. Two fell off the tree. What fraction of the apples fell off? So 2 out of 7 apple, right? Because the total apples on the tree 7 and 2, so that means 2 out of 7 fell off. The correct 2 out of 7. Let's just start with the test questions. There were 2 swans in a lake. One flew away. What fraction of the swans were left? So 1 out of 2. Option number 2 is the correct option. That is 1 out of 2. There are 8 mailboxes on Clayton's street. 3 of the mailboxes are silver. What fraction of the mailboxes are silver? It would be 3 out of 8. Option number 2 is the correct option. The correct option is 3 out of 8. Anna arranged 3 flowers in a vase. She used 1 rose. What fraction of the flowers were roses? So, which is the correct option? It would be 1 out of 3. Option number 1 is the correct option. Very good. There were 5 frogs in a log. 2 hopped away. What fraction of the frogs were left? 2 hopped away. So then we are left with 3 out of 5. Very good. Option number 2 is the correct option. Brenda saw 10 crabs in an aquarium. One of the crabs was orange. What fraction of the crabs were orange? Wanda saw 10 crabs in an aquarium. One of the crab was, so that is 1 out of 10. Very good. Option number 1 is the correct option. Eight students went to the zoo. Seven of them saw the penguins. What fraction of the students saw the penguins? So, which is the correct option? That is 7 out of 8. Option number 1 is the correct option. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself later today. Let me just move on to next lesson. The next lesson is fractions review. Let's just start with the lesson. What fraction of the number line? What fraction does the number line show? So there are segments, and the one that has the green dot is the first one. So that is 1 out of 12. Let's just start with the test questions. What fraction of the pair of scissors are not pink? So 8 out of, basically that is 4 out of 5, right? 8 out of 10 are not pink, so you can write it as 4 over 5. Option 1, not 2. What fraction does the number line show? Which is the correct option? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That is 2 by 3. 8 over 12, you can write we answer in the simplest form. That is 8 after 12. We can divide them by 4. So that is 4 times 2 is 8 is 12. So that is 3. Option number 2 is the correct option. 2 by 3 it is. Got it? Okay, the next one is what fraction does the number line show? So which is the correct option? That is 1 out of 2, isn't it? Option number 2 is the correct option. 1 out of 2 it is. That is 1 out of 12. Option number 2 is the correct option. What fraction of the octagons are blue? 1 out of the 12 octagons are blue, right? Because only one of the octagon is blue. What fraction of the fish are not blue? Not blue is 10 out of 11 because only one of them is blue, so that is 10 out of 11. What fraction does the number line show? That is 2 out of 3 because that is 4 out of 6, right? So when you simplify, it would be 2 out of 3. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself later today. Let me just move on to next lesson. The next lesson is fraction. Find equivalent fractions using area model. Use the models to complete the equivalent fraction sentence. So 1 out of 4. Basically, let's just understand. Both of the circles are the same, right? The first one has 4 parts and one of them is colored. And the second one has 8 portions and 2 of them are colored. So they have they both looks exactly the same. They both have exactly the same number of portion is colored, just their parts are different, right? So that is 1 out of 4 equals 2 out of 8. Let's just start with the test questions. Use the models to complete the equivalent fraction sentence. So 1 out of 2 equals 2 because here 2 of them are colored. So 1 out of 2 equals 2 out of 4. The missing number is that is 2 out of 4. Option number 2 is the correct option. So 2 out of 6 equals 1 out of 3. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is 1 out of 3. Use the models of the to complete the equivalent fraction sentence. 6 out of 8 equals, that is 3 out of 4. Option number 2 is the correct option. Use the models to complete the equivalent fraction sentence. Two out of 8 equals, that is 1 out of 4. Option number 1 is the correct option. Use the models to complete the equivalent fraction sentence. 2 out of 3 equals very good, 4 out of 6. Okay, you can complete the lesson self later today. We just move on to next lesson. Equivalent fractions. 'But which fraction is equivalent to 2 by 5? So how do we find the 2 by 5? So basically, we can find the equivalent fractions by multiplying the given fraction by the same number or either by dividing, right? So multiplying by same number means you need to multiply the same number with numerator. So 4 over 10 is equivalent, right? 2 by 5 and 4 by 10 are the equivalent fractions. Let's just start with the which fraction values make these fractions equal. 2 by 6 equals the missing number type 3. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 2 divided by 2 is, so 2 divided by 2 is 1. That is 1 out of 3. Option number 2 is the correct option. Four by 6 equals 8 over the missing number. So let's just see 4 times what number is 8. 4 times 2 is 8, right? Then you have to multiply the same number by the denominator. So 6 times 2 is very good. 12 it is. The correct option is 12. Option number 2 is the correct option. Which fraction is equivalent to 2 by 4? 2 by 4. The equivalent fraction is 6 by 12. Very good option. 'Which fraction is equivalent to 1 by 3? That is 4 over 12. Option number 2 is the correct option. Which missing value makes these fractions equal? That is 4 out of. Very good. 5. Option number 2 is the correct. 1 is the correct option. 4 out of 5 it is. Which fraction is equivalent to 3 by 6? That is 1. 6 by 12 it is. Option number 2 is the correct option. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself later today. So we were working on grade 4 maths. Chapter we were working on is understanding fractions, word problems, fractions review, find equivalent fractions using area model, and equivalent fractions. So please make sure before the next session you can complete all the practice questions for the lessons we just did. That is your homework until next session. On the live chat button, tutors are available there to help you, or write them down in the chat box all your questions and confusions if you have any. So, any questions you can please ask if you have any. No questions? Okay, then that's all for today. See you in the next session.